Okay, everybody, I have a little treat for you and an even bigger treat for me. And that is, we're gonna try two avocados that I've had one before, but never the other one. I've often wondered about it. And the two avocados in question are Edranol and MacArthur. These are both really interesting avocados because they're really high quality and they were sort of created or introduced at a very early stage in the California avocado industry. And so let's see, the first one that was introduced was the MacArthur avocado. Now, this avocado was discovered by Thomas Shaden, and it was actually named the MacArthur avocado after his mom, Elizabeth MacArthur. I'm not sure why she had a different name, but I won't ask. But anyway, this guy used to own a hotel, a couple hotels, and at one of his hotels, he was eating in the restaurant, and they had some avocados, and it's the first time he ever tried it, and he instantly fell in love with avocados. So he literally freaked out, sold the hotels, and opened an avocado orchard, actually bought an avocado orchard, and just shifted careers. And he was super into it. Does this sound familiar? Yeah, I don't really make much of my money doing avocados, but I love it. Mostly palm trees, as you probably know. But I can't get enough of fooling around with these fruits. Okay, so that was way back in 1922. So think about that. That was 4 years earlier than the Haas avocado was even discovered in Rudolf Haas's, he actually pronounced his name Haas, just like H with a donkey, Haas. So at Rudolf Haas's house, 4 years later, he sort of discovered his avocado in his backyard in 1926. And it took 50 years, but it became the most popular commercial avocado. But before that, this is one of the most popular commercial avocados, and we're gonna open that up and we're gonna talk about that. These are perfectly ripe. Right now it's late February. It's a little early to pick both of these, but they were both picked in San Diego County, which ripens a bit earlier. Now the second avocado we have here is a little bit more consistent with a Hass avocado shape, although it's a fairly large avocado, but it's pretty similar to Hass in the sense that it has a rough, pebbly skin, as does the MacArthur. See that right there? Now the MacArthur seems to be a little bit lighter in color than the Edranol. Now the Edranol was introduced in 1932, and this avocado was discovered and introduced right up the street from where we have our nursery down in Vista. And so there's a lot of incredible people who lived in Vista in the horticulture trade, especially in the subtropical horticulture trade and the exotic fruit trade. It's just the list, there's just legend after legend after legend lived down there. And the person who discovered this, his name was E.R. Mullen. I don't know what E.R. stands for, but hopefully he didn't have to go to the ER room often enough to get that nickname. But I presume his name was Eric or something like that. But anyway, this one here is a B variety, whereas the MacArthur is an A variety. And we're gonna open these up and see how they behave here. Let's go with the Edranol first and see what this is like. Cuts really nice. These are both very well ripened. And we're just gonna open this bad boy up. See what we see. There we go. A little bit of a bruise right there on one side, but otherwise a really beautiful avocado. You can see the alternative, so you can see it better. The flesh to seed ratio is really nice, so that looks really good. You can see there's a lot of meat on the neck up above, and we'll just have to see who wins the taste test here. And these two avocados, apparently, the reason that they fell out of favor commercially was that they just didn't have the production rate on the trees that the Hass avocado had, and the Fuerte for that matter. Now you can see this shape is a little different. It's kind of squashed a little bit. It usually has a little bit more of a neck to it, but it does have a kind of a squatty look to it, like a kind of a pear shape. And again, this one does have a little bit of a bruise on one side there. And so we're gonna avoid that when we eat it. You can see at least this stage, this is sort of an early pick, but I couldn't resist it. And so you can see the lighter color of the MacArthur avocado versus the darker color of the flesh of the MacArthur or the Edranol avocado here. Let's just take one last good look at the comparison of these avocados, the inside for shape. The MacArthur has a pretty big seed, as you can see, but it still has a fair amount of flesh. The Edranol really sort of reminds me of a Pinkerton shape. What's interesting is they seem to have a medium-sized skin. We'll peel them and see how that works out. But the Edranol does remind me a bit of the shape of a Pinkerton avocado. So there they are, side by side. Now we're gonna get down to the business and see which tastes better, at least in February. So first we'll go with our Edranol. Okay, it's got a medium density on it, so it's pretty dense. It's about the same density as a Hass avocado. Oh wow. I was thinking it's early in the season. Maybe it's not gonna taste that good. That is really delicious. That has a different taste than a Hass. That is an extremely richer sort of, just a richer taste to it. It's very buttery and smooth, but it also has a really good texture, a structural quality to it. This one, just looking at it, it seems it might be a little bit less texture. Usually the lighter color oftentimes is indicative of an avocado that's just easier to scoop, and therefore, slightly more watery, if you want to call it like that. But yeah, this one, you can just see how easily the spoon goes into it. Very easy. Watch this one. There's resistance. So you got to push harder to get into that. This is a much more dense, structurally dense avocado than the MacArthur. Let's try the MacArthur though. See how this one goes. These could be very different toward the end of the season. Oh yeah. Well, it's smooth, it's more creamy, there's more moisture in it, but that just, kind of as a bonus. And it might be because it doesn't have the fat content, because it's an early pick in the season. San Marcos Grower is a famous nursery in Santa Barbara. If Randy Baldwin sees this, what's up, Randy? He's my buddy, he's run the place forever. They had a big MacArthur tree out front for a really long time. It might even still be there. Whenever I went there, I'd always pick him up off the ground wherever I saw him. So I've eaten this one for many, many years because of that nursery. And this does taste a lot lighter and a lot smoother than what I remember. So I think it's really the fault of the early pick season. But it appears to me that this Edranol, picking it in February, it's as good or better than a typical Hass avocado that you would pick in May, June, July, August, September, October in California. What does that mean? That means if you grow these, you can utilize it as a B variety to pollinate your A variety trees, and you have an earlier fruit, which is comparable to any really good A variety that I know of. They do say that the B varieties in general produce less fruit, but I've had B varieties produce a lot of fruit. I do not have experience growing Edranol yet. I just planted some young ones, and I'm just now starting MacArthur. So I don't have historical reviews on these two avocados from a growing standpoint, other than just picking these at the San Marcos parking lot. It had been there for 100 years. It was a huge tree. They don't really water it other than a little bit of water they give to the plants underneath it, growing out of gravel pretty much. But that's pretty much the story of Edranol, B variety, MacArthur, A variety, very ancient avocados in the history of California cultivars. And I did want to show you what I was using for my prop to angle this cutting board toward you. And that is, look at that, get a close up of that. Does that look like any avocado you've ever seen? No, probably not. This is a Jim Bacon avocado that was fortunate enough to be out in the sun, having the sun on it. It's ripe this time of year in February. We're gonna start selling these individually to mail people through, this is a little baby one. They're gonna be much bigger. But basically, I gave away all the big ones to friends and family. And so these are all the little ones I keep to eat myself because I want to impress people with the big ones, but they're like, some of them are 3 times as big. We're gonna sell the really big red ones, 35 bucks each, delivered anywhere in the United States, right in front of Valentine's Day, so you can give your avocado fanatic significant other a beautiful Valentine red avocado. And that's the end of the story.